as the best team in C for the past year or so. There were some consistent issues with Faceless, but overall I think they are still one of the more powerful teams in C. So I think today we're gonna decide who is gonna be the better team, at least in the best of 3. Restalker, we got the draft along the way. Abaddon's gonna be the first pick, but Kunkka as a quick reply here by Faceless.
Radiant's pick.
I hope Restalker can hear me. Restalker, please. Can you hear me? I'm talking to you.
10 seconds to go. 5 seconds.
Alright. Hello, Restalker, do you hear me?
Reserve time.
So Skype tech issues. Not like this. Alright, I'm gonna keep casting. Maybe my co-caster will come back. Okay, so Terrorblade is gonna be Black's hero, most likely. I know Black's been known to switch roles depending on the heroes, but Terrorblade is definitely gonna be right up his alley. Kunkka is gonna be the pickup, most likely gonna be for XY. I assume this is Ice Ice Ice. It will be Ice 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 to be a stand-in, but who knows? Pretty sure this is Ice Ice Ice. Huh, Discord is not working.
10 seconds to go.
Alright, let's try again.
It's working now, it's working now.
Alright, okay, good stuff. Well, we got you back. I was doing a little bit of introduction.
Okay.
I was telling that, you know, Faceless, very strong team, but Clutch Gamer has been a team that's qualifying to the lands recently, so you could make the argument that Clutch Gamer is stronger, but we got the draft on the way, so why don't you take us through the draft so far?
Yeah, so we've been seeing the Kunkka pick. We were covering some of the China games yesterday, and a little bit of hit and miss with the Kunkka pick. I'm actually pretty interested that they picked Terrorblade very early on. Typically, you reserve your core heroes for a little bit later in the draft, but I think along with Lifestealer, Terrorblade is probably one of the few heroes that you feel, you know, relatively comfortable picking early on because they're just powerhouses, you know, by nature.
Yeah, I think one of the innate danger of taking Terrorblade early on, which explains why we don't see a lot of teams picking cores early, is that you can't always guarantee a good lane for the Terrorblade. Sometimes you could offensive trialing against the Terrorblade and he will struggle mightily. Was it Jules yesterday that was casting a game where he was just struggling heavily in the lanes? He did end up recovering, but that was more so due to his teams playing well. So, yeah, we'll see if Clutch Gamer gets to punish the Terrorblade pick. But showing the fact that they have Abaddon already, I don't know if they could pick something that beats him in a, you know, 1v3.
Yeah, I think the other reason they picked Terrorblade is because Abaddon relies, you know, heavily on right clicks early on to kind of pressure the safe laner, and of course Terrorblade starts with a ridiculous amount of armor. He starts with like 10 armor or something. So if he pops the Aphotic Shield, you can just kind of back up, wait for it to pop, and then if he's going to right click you, he's probably going to be hitting you for like 10 damage or something with the Poor Man's Shield running. But it looks like we have Tinker and Shadowfiend being banned very early on for Faceless. Is that something that Armel plays particularly a lot or something?
I haven't seen the Tinker too much, but Lina, Shadowfiend, these are heroes that he definitely can play. The surprising one is that Invoker is still left in the pool. This is Armel's best hero. And also, in my opinion, Jabs' best hero. So I wonder if there is a little bit of dance in terms of who's going to get the Invoker. Jabs also historically very good on the Ember Spirit. And we don't see any signs of that just yet. So I think maybe both teams are waiting for the final pick to make sure that they get the counter picks and whatnot.
Yeah, so it seems like Clutch Gamers has kind of rounded off with their early aggression. They have Slardar here, so Abaddon Slardar is going to be a bit of a terror to play during the mid game, or play against, I should say. But Faceless do have Kunkka and Dazzle. They're pretty good at kind of you know, putting a temperament on that kind of early aggression. So we'll see how those supports are able to play out. The thing with the Dazzle and the Kunkka is they're not particularly great together as an offensive pair, but they're a pretty decent defensive pair. So they'll be able to kind of deal with what Clutch Gamers have drafted so far.
I mean, I would say Dazzle plus Terrorblade offensively is not bad, right? Weave and Shield Bomb on the illusions. And now we got a Bristleback, so this Dazzle is going to be having a ton of value. Like, Grave on Terrorblade or Grave on Bristleback is going to be absolutely amazing. This could actually be Jabs' mid hero. Let's not forget that he definitely could be playing in the mid lane as well, but I'm gonna so far assume it's gonna be Ice 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 handling it in
10
the off lane.
seconds to go.
Yeah, I've seen a couple, for those of you that watch Western Dota, I think it was Weeha that was playing the Bristleback mid, or no, it was Matumba Man, I believe. I was
Okay.
playing,
Reserve
someone was
time.
playing a core Bristleback mid, and it's just a terror. Even played as a safe lane, but of course in this case it's not going to be safe lane. He's quite potent. Bristleback's just one of those heroes who's able to stack the offlane camps. He can even do Ancients relatively early, so he'll be able to secure himself gold regardless of how his offlane goes.
I think this game in particular is very important for Slardar to hopefully get a blink into a Midas, because I think it is important for Slardar to hit that level 18 to get the max minus armor. Because one of the best way to deal with Bristleback is to tackle him from the armor department. That will force him to get into something like a Lotus Orb, which it's a decent item for Bristleback, but one that often is skipped for other stuff like Soul Crest, I don't know, Pipe, Vanguard,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
10 seconds to go.
It's pretty interesting to see who's going to build the solar crest this game, because Dazzle is typically the one that builds Medallion into solar. He may need it a little bit earlier this game, but it's just because of Slardar and Weaver, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him picking up the solar crest. But speaking of minus armor, they have it in spades on Clutch Gamer here with Slardar and Weaver, which naturally makes it very easy to take Roshan with Abaddon's Curse of Avernus on top of everything. So both teams here have, pretty good armor on both sides, to be honest.
Yeah, it comes down to whether Dazzle gets to cast his weave on time. And when I say on time, it means before the fight even happens.
Yeah.
You need to take a little bit of while to take those armor up. And I think that's going to be Clutch Gamer's focal point as well. Find the Dazzle with your Slardar and get the quick kill before the fight even happens. Because trying to fight into Terrorblade and Bristleback when the Dazzle is live is just not a good sign for you. And I like the Invoker ban here from Faceless. Not only is it because Armel is really good on the hero, but one of the best ways to find a pick on a support is Blink Slaughter Stun into Sunstrike, and Dazzle's dead 100% of the time, so I definitely do respect the Invoker ban there.
I think the other thing is Bristleback's always frontlining, so he's going to stand in the EMP almost no matter what, and then he's going to have next to nothing to really work with.
True.
So that's probably one of the other major reasons, but yeah, you brought up some really good points there. It looks like Puck ban for Clutch. It takes a little bit away from the team fight, and Bristleback and Puck actually work pretty well together. Just keeping all the targets in one area for the cool spray.
The Dream Core boat is the real deal.
Yeah,
so.
that's the dream.
That is
the dream boat.
All right, Clutch Gamers, they got to pick up their mid, so Faceless Jabs is gonna have the counter pick. So what is Armel gonna play? Something like Venomancer isn't necessarily good at killing people, but does apply a lot of slow. But it's gonna be the OD instead. So, well, you have a lot of armor. We don't care about your armor. We orb through that.
Yeah, OD's a pretty good pick. I'm not too sure what they're gonna pick here. It's just gonna be like a sniper pick or something. There's not too many heroes that are left in the pool that are particularly good against OD.
10 seconds.
I like sniper, right? You got the range. You got the Bristleback to
Yeah,
front
they have
entry.
really good range.
Yeah.
That's true.
And of course, the OD has the nice added benefit of saving yourself or your allies from those X combos that Kuga loves to set up. So now they have really good defensive tools, between the Aphotic Shield and the Astral Imprisonment. I gotta say, this is a very well-rounded lineup for Clutch Gamers.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It has a decent damage, coming from pure and the physical from both the OD and the Weaver. And of course, Abaddon can always just go in and cause a little bit of trouble for Team Faceless. So I think both teams have good frontliners. They both have decent damage. And we'll see how Faceless kind of round this out. I think Sniper is like the safest pick here. Can you think of any hero that Jabs might want to play in particular?
I mean, let's not forget that Bristleback can still go mid against the OD, but it's gonna be the Ember instead, which is,
Yeah,
I think,
that's what I was thinking.
more on the comfort zone and less so on the actual how good it is. And we're gonna probably see Armel make an adjustment to his skill build. Normally, when you see Ember mid, the Astral is generally not ranked up because, well, you can't break the Flame Guard as easily. So most LDs actually prefer leveling up the Orb, which we'll see if it actually affects his farm rate.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll still get a couple points into Astral because it does let you, just push out the lanes very easily, pick out the bounty runes or any other rune that you may need. But yeah, we'll see how the build goes. And I agree with you there on the Ember Spirit pick. It's not particularly great in terms of synergy with the rest of his team. He does a high amount of magic damage. We have Dazzle and Bristleback who are more about reducing the armor of the heroes. So it's just probably more of a comfort pick. It is very elusive once he gets that Lincoln Sphere. It's going to be very hard for Rubik to blink lift him or for Odie to go for a blink sheep much later in the game.
Yep. I gotta say though, normally his chain is a fairly reliable disable, but Rappy is gonna be looking to debuff that pretty consistently. And we'll see how the game goes. Is there a draft that you prefer from Faceless or Clutch Gamer?
I like Clutch Gamer's draft overall, but I think Faceless has a pretty good frontlining team. They have a lot of... Both teams have... I think it's going to be on the more defensive abilities. Clutch Gamers does have a little bit of offensive potential. I think Faceless is going to be a little bit more on the back foot, relying on the Dazzle and the Kunkka boats to come on out and contribute a little bit more to the team fights.
I like the Faceless draft all the way up to the Ember Spirit pick. I felt like they had a very coherent strategy.
Sure.
Good team fight, good minus armor going in, but then it felt like the Ember pick was, oh god, what to pick, and then let's put jabs
Yeah.
on Ember. Which, by the way, he's very good on the hero, and I'm sure he's gonna style on some kids, but I don't know. We'll see if actually will be a good draft.
Yeah, the root is of course very good against Weaver as well. It'll force him to time lapse, and also will force the Abaddon to be around the Weaver a lot more often. And until Starter gets his blink and things like that, the root's going to be very annoying.
All right, we got the go going. So let's quickly introduce who is playing what. We got Boombacks playing the 4 position Slaughter, Fly Solo. My favorite residential feeder, which actually a very good player, but he's the selfless 5 position on the Rubik. Gabby playing the carry Weaver, currently on the top lane, just placing some wards, but might get the smoke broken. Ooh, both teams breaking the smoke, so they should be aware of where the wards are. And then we got Rappy playing the offlane Abaddon, and last but not least, I will leave Armel playing the mid OD. Meal on the dire side, we got Nuts currently dewarding, easy 100 gold, playing the Dazzle. We got Terrorblade being handled by Black. We got XY playing the roaming Kunkka. Mid lane is going to be jabs on the Ember, and finally Ice Ice Ice, or question mark on Bristleback.
Yeah, so just very early warding going on, and it looks like the Dazzle did end up dewarding the Observer Ward placed by the Weaver a little bit early, and that's why you want to make sure you teleport extremely early. And I think if the Weaver actually took a little bit more of a roundabout way of leaving that area, he might have went undetected there.
Right.
But that's a bit unfortunate.
I mean, I think the early game warding is almost always a gamble. Like,
yeah, it is.
It's hard to have a perfect path where you guarantee don't run into anybody. But yeah, it looks like Clutch Gamer are thinking about going offensive, or at least a 2-1-2, but featuring the Weaver Slaughter a little bit more offensive up top. This is something I kind of talked about during the drafting phases. You could technically kind of go aggressive. They do take the rune, but it's going to be a 2-man Torrent. Okay, they try to go for Gabby, they try to go for Boomback. Nobody dies, but still a massive amount of damage being done to Clutch Gamers.
Yeah, Weaver has a really nice opening starting build here. Typically, this is what I see from very high MMR players. You get a lot of tangos, and they just go for the standard one pickup from the side trap, and they should be okay. Dazzle's going to be spamming out Shadow Wave, so should be okay. It looks like we're going to have Abaddon bottom against Ice's Bristleback here, so that's going to be a pretty interesting lane to look at as well.
Yeah, Rappy's already got the magic stick queued up on his quick buy, and Ice is going to try to do what he can, bullying him.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
I really like this trialing setup here by Clutch Gamer, because I really don't think Faceless has much to do, right? Until their support's to level 2, particularly until Kunkka hits level 2. Like, a level 1, there's just no setup for anything.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier when I said the Dazzle and the Kunkka don't have great synergy, but, for a team fighting kind of purpose, of course they work well, but their roaming potential is not going to be great. They're going to be, I think their goal is to just secure a little bit of golden EXP for the Terrorblade, and once Terrorblade hits maybe level 3 or 4, they'll kind of try to make movements around the map. But for the time being, they're just going to try to secure some farm for him.
Well, I'm going to pay most of my attention to this 1v1. As Ice using his Quill Spray to go for a pull. Alright, very nicely done. Can he actually drag the aggro of the creeps? Yes, he can. But Rappy gonna go back and drag it back. I really love seeing these kind of 1v1 matchups because there's actually a lot of skill involved.
Yeah, it's mechanically intensive.
Yeah.
It's a lot about the knowledge as well. You have to understand things like creep aggro mechanics. And if there's like a furball, the Hellbear camp there, it's going to clear out an entire creep wave, just with the smash. Knowing small things like that definitely helps.
Yep. I am surprised that Rappy has not made the short trip to the side shop to pick up the magic stick. I would think that would help out the lane very much so. And now Ice is out of mana. Then he goes up to pick the magic stick, but there's not going to be much Cold Spray left.
Yeah. Meanwhile, all that's happening, we have the two supports kind of just pussyfooting around, hitting each other like wet noodles. They're not, doing a lot of damage to each other, but they're just being a bit of a nuisance while the two core heroes farm it up in the safe lane.
All right, back in the mid lane. Haven't looked at this just yet. CS is very similar to each other. Looks like Armel has the 1-1-1 build so far, and so the verdict is still out whether we're gonna see more Orb or more Astro.
Yeah, something that I also want to note a little earlier was that Terrorblade used a very early metamorphosis.
Top lane,
Yep.
fly solo. Looks like he got picked up by a Torrent. They got the couple more right clicks on him. No, the bug's gonna be on top of everyone. Now it's gonna be Clutch Gamer going for the solo kill, or rather the return kill. Ice, or Nuts graving himself. But we'll go down to the Bucks. Might go for a little bit more. XY has a ton of minus armor to himself. That's gonna be a secondary kill on Gabby. And Black is left all alone. And I think you were mentioning that he used meta early. And now he doesn't have it for the fight.
That is exactly what I was going to mention, is that he had pretty, you want to use meta if you're getting pressured. It's one of the, like I talked to some really good Terrorblade players, 7K, 8K players, and what they say is that you should hold on to meta because essentially think of it as a very early ultimate ability, and it gives you, a tremendous amount of power. And if your supports are able to kind of secure that farm for you, you don't have to pop the meta very early. Another thing I'd like to mention is that he got the second point into Metamorphosis while it was on cooldown, and perhaps if he had Reflection there, that would have probably been a kill onto the Rivik.
Bottom lane here. Ice starting to apply a ton of pressure, stacking up them cold sprays. But of course, the Magic Stick is running, and Abaddon even has a Fairy Fire, but you can see Ice is constantly shoving the lane in, but also looking to deny and farm this wave. Or this, rather, jungle camp.
Yeah, I think he's just going to go back and get the Bounty Rune because he did pick up a bottle for himself, which is a pretty heads-up pickup, I think. Going for something like a Basilius probably wouldn't warrant enough mana regen. He really wants to make sure that he's pressuring this Abaddon. He's doing relatively okay. They're both, sharing about the exact same amount of CS here.
Yeah, Bristleback does have one of the higher int game for a strength hero. Let's see, 2.8 per level exact. Like that's really high for most strength. So having an early regen item like this, and then later on having a more like static regen is a little bit better.
Mid lane.
Yep, we're gonna see Astro into a stun, jabs out of mana at this point. They lift him back, and all the constant orb hit here from Armel. Armel leveling up the Essence Aura instead, which actually is probably just better than leveling up the orb, right? Because the more aura means you have more mana, you have more chance of proccing the arcane orb. So
yeah, I think he might leave it at 3. I think 4, it's fine either way. But definitely going for that early arcane orb is very useful, especially against a hero like Ember Spirit, because he has a decent mana pool, but his spells themselves cost a lot of mana. So if you're able to kind of chunk him down, every little bit of int stolen helps.
Bottom lane, Ice at it again. Rappy does have, imagine, a pretty big magic stick. No! Oh.
Yeah, you might want to jump to the top lane, by the way.
Well, I mean, everyone's disconnecting, and everyone's dying, so I'm gonna say this is very unfortunate for Clutch Gamers, but, I mean, can't fall faceless, right?
Yeah, it's just, everyone, not too sure what happened there, but, I suppose we can talk a little bit more about the game here, and it looks like they are going to get a kill onto the Weaver, and as you're talking about earlier, they have a pretty decent heal bomb combination with the Terrorblade, and that's mostly how they got the Weaver down so low.
It also helped when he's lagged out.
Yeah, well, they actually X-marked him, and
I see.
I'm not sure if he dropped before or after, but he was probably dead either way.
Well, actually, if he pops back in time, spams Magic Stick and Sakuchi, maybe he survives, actually.
He might.
My cat's meowing at me. I'm gonna let him out. Okay, Tiny, we go out. All right. We're not back yet. Well, I don't need to tell you that losing the 1v1 lane by giving a solo kill to Ice, and also possibly losing the Weaver is going to be pretty bad for Clutch Gamer. But
yeah,
at least before this, they were doing quite okay.
Yeah, I think this game's just going to... Bristleback's having too much of a good time. Typically, when he's played in the off lane, you apply a little bit of pressure to him, but in the 1v1 scenario, I think what happens is Abaddon doesn't apply as much pressure early as Bristleback is kind of able to, because if Bristleback gets a Vanguard, he can kind of just start diving your towers, and until Weaver and Slaughter get a little bit of levels, they're not going to be doing too much to him, whereas Abaddon can't apply that same pressure, at least I don't think, not with heroes also do well, whereas Bristleback, if he does well, he can kind of start doing things on his own. At least that's how I'm seeing it this game.
Fly Solo connects, evidently not very happy given the current situation. But
yeah, that's just unfortunate.
let's just hope that Gabby could pop that Magic Wand now. Magic Wand, Sakuchi, and the poison, maybe? The right click. They had Sentry, and Black smartly activating that Metamorphosis, guaranteeing the kill. Very nicely done.
Yeah, that was reminiscent of Michael Jordan in Space Jam, going for that last second dunk. That was a very long auto attack there.
I mean, is it Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan actually jumps. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe when he gets Dragon Lance, it's more like Michael Jordan.
Whenever I see Huskar, I think of Michael Jordan. That's the real MJ. But,
that's true. But yeah, that's the other thing I want to talk about is that since Bristleback's been doing really well, he actually hasn't opted to stack the Ancient Camp. Something that I want to talk about is that sometimes you'll see players like Matumba Man. He's probably the biggest, I shouldn't say offender, but the biggest proprietor of stacking camps. Sometimes he'll miss an entire creep wave so they can stack like an Ancient Camp. And doing something like that actually propels you for farming a little bit further. So I thought ISS would be doing something like that, but he opted to just go for the 1v1 lane and make sure he kind of kept the Abaddon down. Yeah,
I think that's it. Like, it's good to accelerate your farm, but not at the cost of allowing Abaddon to play the catch-up, right? He's got the solo kill already, and look at how aggressive he's playing. Hana's gonna pop that magic stick, and he needs to actually shield himself, but does the ISS care? That's a lot of stacks on him, and look at that! Just kills through.
He actually didn't level his ultimate there, by the way. He had the level 6, and he was holding on to it.
Well, I'm not sure exactly for what, but I'm pretty sure that last Quill Spray stack did so much damage that it might have killed through the ult as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Top lane, Fly Solo. Is it gonna get torrented up? No! That Rubik Cape, small enough to allow him to run through. And I think with the 2 solo kills in a row, Hana actually can't go back in the lane anymore. Or rather, Rappy. I mean, he can, but like, it's not gonna be good for him.
Yeah, I think they've sort of lost most of their lanes, apart from the mid lane. I think the mid lane's doing pretty well. So they are kind of making rotations around the map. Looks like Kunkka's going to get initiated on. Should be a pretty easy kill here. They're going to dodge the torrents and what he's going to ask for him. So he's going to be most likely dead unless there's some insane miracle here. So yeah, he is going to be going down. Pretty easy kill. And that's what I was going to mention is that the Slaughter is not going to be able to do too much top lane. So I think Slaughter and Rubik should kind of go around and apply pressure elsewhere. Weaver is a decent catch-up hero. So he'll be fine by himself here. He could always last under tower and things like that.
Yeah, to me, it's just that once this tower push happens, Faceless will have a Bristleback in the front and a Terrorblade in the back, and I'm not sure whether they can actually deal with that. Or rather, Nuts is going to get lifted, will grave himself, and now Black will try to pressure away the 2 supports. Meanwhile, Gabby going hard for this kill here, will get it, and he will actually get himself out, but looks like Boomback will pay the ultimate price. X-Torn and Black constantly right-clicking and getting away, will get the kill.
Yeah, that's just the strength of Terrorblade when you're fighting under the Metamorphosis. It just does an insane amount of damage against heroes like Rubik. And Slaughter, Slaughter has base stats, pretty decent base stats, but Metamorphosis is just pretty insane.
Ice not using the Shrine. Interesting. Okay, now he's going back.
Yeah, he's pinging it out now. He's like, I think someone on his team let him know, like, hey, dude, you have that.
Alright, he's good. Back in the lane. He's got Vanguard finish, and once he's got Vanguard, let the tower diving commence.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty easy to, kind of bully around their lanes at this point. It looks like Black has went for a Ring of Aquila, pretty standard stuff. He'll probably be working towards the Dragon Lance next. And pretty interested to see if they're going to wait for the Dragon Lance. Terrorblade does farm pretty quickly. Can probably get that 1,000 gold in maybe the next 2 minutes or so, and they'll probably apply a little bit more pressure there. And it looks like we have a big congregation happening bottom lane.
Oh,
here.
They want Ice. The question is whether they'll be able to get it. They should be able to. He's juking into the trees right now. Boomback's gonna cut him off. He now jukes to the left side. Orbs. He's applying a ton of quill stack, and you gotta be watching out their HP levels. They lift him up. Rappy's ultimate, getting a lot of HP back, but here comes the Magic Stick, the Astro. They gotta be very careful. They could actually die here. Alright, they do get the kill, and look at that was a 4 versus 1 situation, and they almost all died. And now Ember Spear says, okay, thanks for the setup, Ice. I will not get this kill. Okay, I will get this kill. He's good. No, he's not. The orb's gonna come through, and now Rappy's gonna fight him on the tower. Rappy out of mana at this point. They're gonna toss him away. Here comes Gabby. They got the stun, they got the bugs, and they got the kill. All right.
Oh man.
Clutch Gamers making a really good comeback here.
I think Jabs would want to hold on to another remnant there. If he blew both of them, he would have definitely gotten the kill. But I guess he was holding out a little bit. I think if anyone teleported a little bit earlier there, whether it was the Dazzle or the Kunkka, as soon as the Bristleback got initiated on there, they would have gotten. They probably would have been able to turn that fight around, or at the very least. They would have saved Ice 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 because he survived for maybe a good 10 seconds during that whole engagement. It was ample time for rotations to be made.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the support had TP or was it on cooldown.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, it looks like Terrorblade has kind of gone into push mode here. There's not too much Weaver can do. It looks like they've actually opted to send Abaddon up here. It looks like Black is going to deal a pretty decent amount of damage here. Yeah, meanwhile, Slaughter is probably dead to rights here.
I like the courier micro hovering over. Wait. He's just sprinting out right now. They need the chain, and they will hit it this time. They got the X as well, but the Centaur. Big brother Centaur trying to help out his little fish friend, but not going to be good enough.
Yeah, and meanwhile, it looks like Black has finished off the tier 1 tower top.
Right. It's gonna be Yasha first instead of the Dragonlance. Yeah. That's not something you see too often, actually.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent build-up. Yasha, of course, accelerates your farm speed and makes your illusions much more powerful. And I think that's a pretty heads-up build because once Abaddon does get these key items like a Vlad's, they're gonna be able to defend these towers a little bit better, especially with heroes like Abaddon and the Slardar who can kind of frontline a little bit. So it's just a deviation. I think both builds have a merit with the Dragonlance and the Yasha.
I actually think the Dragonlance is mostly predominantly for a pushing kind of build because you could siege from a safer distance, but because they have the Bristleback to stand in the front line anyways, Yasha is just overall better farming item. And now Ice between two towers, just going for work. Fly Solo does have the lift available. They're going to toss him away. Gabby, gotta be careful as well. He does have the full 17 wand charges. And I know people are actually pointing out in the chat regarding Aphotic Shield and the Quill Spray. Aphotic Shield does not debuff Quill Spray, right?
I am not entirely sure.
I don't think it does.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, we could keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Because Aphotic Shield is a hard dispel, so it should dispel most things. So
right, but the question is Quill Spray one of those things dispellable?
It literally says cannot be dispelled.
Well, there you go.
On the tooltip.
Mystery solved, yeah. We are freaking Sherlock Holmes over here. XY?
Yeah.
Looking for the X, not gonna find it.
And yeah, this is kind of what happens when Bristleback gets insanely powerful. The thing with Bristleback is because Warpath does give you, insane amount of damage just through the passive ability, you can kind of build for these tanky items. He is going to be going for the Talisman Evasion, and it looks like Clutch Gamers are just going to back off. They kind of feigned protecting the tower, but there's really not too much that they can do, especially with Black running down here.
Yeah, the nice thing they got out of it is forcing multiple commitment of Faceless hero. I think Ice would like to take the take the tower solo, but like you said, the feigned defense pretty much forced a lot of Faceless hero to come through. Mid lane here, Jabs trading up against Gabby. Did force out the ultimate, and now he gets X by Rubik. Uh-oh, Jabs might be in a lot of trouble. He now looks to actually just kill. Okay, looking pretty good, but now he gets lifted back. Gabby trying to get some more right clicks in, but they are out.
Yeah, he's finished up an entire Veil of Discord here. And that's going to be a little bit of a surprise unless he shows himself here. He didn't actually have that Veil during that gank, but he's just going to walk into the lane, so they're going to spot it out. And meanwhile, Ice actually went top and solo defend against that push. I think there were like 2 or 3 heroes beating on the tower. But he's so farmed, he just kind of teleported in there with like 0 mana and was like, get off my tower.
So, we keep saying about the frontlining capability of Bristleback, but I feel like one of the best heroes against that is going to be OD, right? Like when he is in the front, you keep orbing him, and even though you don't really kill him with the orbs, you just pressure his mana pool so heavily.
Yeah, I think he's typically, that would be a pretty good point to make, but he's he's well on his way towards that Solar Crest, and that's going to make it significantly harder to pressure him.
Right.
And the other thing is, if you Astral the Bristleback, it's not like you can kind of run past him, because in another 3-4 seconds he's going to pop out of there. And if he's between your your Rubik and your like OD, that's not a place that you want the Bristleback to be. You don't want him to be in the middle of your team. So
Or in the mid lane here, and they're gonna exit into a bolt. Gabby is gonna get hit. They pop Dust as well. Remnant forward, dodging the sun, getting the kill. Jabs, making it look easy. But yeah, you were talking about the
but that's you don't want him to be in the middle of your team when that Astral ends. This kill on Gabby is actually pretty big, because Weaver, as I was saying earlier, he's like decent at coming back, but he's only good because when his tower gets pushed down, typically you'll see him farming under his tier 2 or something like that. So getting these pickoffs, where I don't think he should be anywhere near the mid lane, or at the very least he should have a lot of his heroes around him. It's a little bit hard this game because Rubik isn't great at protecting against Kunkka spells. Typically, if there's an initiator like Sand King or something, you can probably just throw him away, but Kunkka's all spell damage, so there's not too much Rubik can do to help.
There is an interesting that Rubik can do if you have the X stolen. So let's say Gabby gets X, right? Gabby then Sakuchi's back, and then Rubik X him in a more defensive location. And then, Kunkka calls him back with the first X, and then Rubik calls him back with the second X. I hope that makes sense, but that's that's a lot of ways that Rubik can play defensively against Kunkka, but assuming you have the X still.
Yeah, he does have the X now. It's kind of like sometimes Kunkka will X himself and then he'll like blink hit something and X himself back. Yeah. It looks like Dazzle here is going to get picked off. He does have a TP cooling off cooldown.
Oh, they got the bug.
But it looks like he did get hit by the bug. Yeah, he's done.
Alright, well, they're going to try to make the best of the situation by pushing down the mid tower. Black is going to pop that meta. And I gotta say, he is very efficient with his Metamorphosis usage. Like, every time he pops meta, it's a tower.
I was actually going to say he could save the meta there. I don't think he needed it.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's gonna if they ever have to defend him like a tier 2 or go for another push. See, I think they could have potentially gotten the tier 2 bottom here as well if they had the meta up. It's going to be running for another 30-40 seconds here, so it looks like they are going to be using it. So it may not be the worst of the situation.
I think it's depending on how many people they'll pour in here. Armel.
Yeah, he'll get some decent damage at least.
Glyph is going to get forced out here. The congregation of the Clutch Gamer hero are coming in. Bristleback pressuring pretty hard here. The orbs are starting to fly out on the back line. They're going to flank in. Tower has gone down, but what the hell is Rappy going to do? In fact, Rappy is going to lose a bunch of his HP trying to flank inside, and it really feels like without the Blink Dagger on the Slardar, Clutch Gamer just can't really pick a fight on their own terms.
Yeah, another thing I want to mention is that the net worth isn't, particularly skewed towards either team, considering that Faceless has, so many towers taken down already. They're only about 2k net worth ahead, so they're not doing particularly great, I think. And the thing is, these heroes like Slardar and Abaddon, they like having items very early on. So if they're not able to kind of get those items, it makes their progression into the late game significantly worse, I think.
Well, we do have the Slardar Blink now, and he hasn't revealed it yet. So I would like to see a big smoke gank or some sort of push with Slardar hiding in the back line.
Yeah, 17-minute Blink Dagger is actually pretty good, considering that they've only got one tower on the side of Clutch Gamers here. So we'll see if they're able to put this to use here. Bristleback's probably not the target.
No.
He's just gonna walk. He's just gonna walk in there.
Oh, they got weaved as well, but they are gonna orb him a couple of times. But the misses.
He's got the Solar Crest, man.
It's missing. Everything is being evaded. But Armel's gonna keep hitting him, just.
Yeah, might as well throw them out.
X is going to find himself. We could Astral that if he wants, but he's not even going to Astral it. He knows there's no follow-up.
Yeah, this is going to be a very hard tower push, and they're losing a lot here. They do have the Ember Spirit farming for Team Faceless, and they have a Terrorblade farming as well. They're only allocating 3 heroes here. It looks like the Ember Spirit's actually going to port back. Meanwhile, there's not too much gold being made on Team Clutch Gamers.
X marks a spot here on Gabby. No follow-up again. I think they're trying to bait out Astral and stuff like as such. But this is still pretty good here for a CG. They are pushing into a weave, not respecting it, and I don't think they're really punished at all. They are punished in the sense that Jabs gets a split push, and they're congregating 5 heroes mid. I
think they lost out pretty heavily there. Their net worth during that entire thing went down by like 1,000 because Terrorblade and Ember Spirit were farming during that whole time.
Right.
And yeah, that's just because Ice is he's probably gonna get picked off here, maybe.
Maybe. Well, we'll see. Orbs are flying out right now. Ice now going to the left side. He's gonna try to do as much damage as he can. Fly solo might die. He will be okay. That was a good pick here. I believe this observer... Oh no, actually, they backed off and smoked immediately, and as soon as that smoke came out, Faceless was pinging the Roche. So I thought they knew, but apparently not. Bolt's gonna fly out here. I'm not sure whether it'll hit on Boombax. Yeah, Boombax just runs the other direction. So Bolt is down. Weave is used.
Yeah. I think that's you're exactly right. I think they ISIS thought they were probably heading a little bit more towards the Roche area, or perhaps they saw Jab's rotation up top or something. So that's why he was in their enemy jungle so deep.
Yeah.
But with him down, it's going to make it a little bit easier to deal some damage to this tower. We'll see if they're able to chip it down. He's going to be respawning extremely soon, though.
Armel has the Hand of Midas after the Pike finish. Tier 1 tower under a lot of siege. Rappy taking lots of damage as well. My question is, whether you agree with this next item choice. Hold that thought, because we're going to see a little bit of fight here. Ice Sports in. The tower is gone. The X Marks Smart is online. Fly Solo on the backline finds himself a Dazzle. The Weave is going to get applied. Fly Solo really in an awkward spot, being chased away, but it seems like Ice maybe in trouble as well. Huge hammer being dropped, and Nuts cannot get the Grave off, and now he might get chased out as well. Gabby is on the chase. The Bug's going to come out. Nuts, of course, can Grave himself. But is he actually going to make it out? Meanwhile, the rest of the team is taking yet another huge team fight. Looks like Nuts should go down. So
yeah, that was a huge mistake from Jabs. He didn't have a teleport scroll up, so he couldn't contribute to that fight at all.
Now they
so
go
it's
to
a little unfortunate there.
Right,
yeah, and this is going to be an easy Roshan.
So I want to ask you, is BKB the right choice here for OD in this game?
BKB, I think...
like, rather, what is BKB actually blocking?
Yeah, it's mostly just Ember Spirit, Kunkka stuff. I'm not too sure if there's, the question is what is better than the BKB, right? I think that might be a slightly better question. I guess you could get something like the Shivas, but BKB, what it does let you do is it kind of lets you just run into their whole team and then drop the hammer. At the very least, you'll be able to clear the Terrorblade illusions. And the thing is, Terrorblade doesn't have the greatest HP pool right now. He's sitting at about 1,400 HP, even with the Dragon Lance and Manta. So if he's able to finish the BKB in a timely fashion, he will be able to chunk down the Terrorblade with that ultimate. And they might be able to get an easy pick off. And of course, it's much easier if you don't have the Ember Spirit and Kunkka spells flying around.
True. I think it allows him to play much more aggressively without having to always reserve his Astral for like anti-Hex or anti-Roots coming out from the Ember Spirit. I think I like the BKB after something like Shiva's Guard, because even with the BKB right now, it doesn't help you against the two biggest damage source from Faceless, which is the Bristleback and the Terrorblade. So
yeah, I think the other reason is perhaps they want Abaddon to
wait, Blink initiation. They're gonna go on the back line here. Black is gonna get focused. He pops a Manta. The Bolt's gonna come out. Gabby's gonna get stunned, and he is melted. The Grave is going on Black, so he's gonna be fine. Meanwhile, Rappy still has his ultimate available. Is gonna trigger it. Force Staff away. Armel will wish he has the BKB now, and is he gonna survive? Heal him, heal him. Yes, the shield's gonna pop, and he is gonna be fine. They do lose Gabby, and perhaps this tier 2 will go down as well, but still. That could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, that's what I want to mention there, just before the team fight broke out, is I think the reason it looks like that might be a little bit more of a skirmish here.
Yeah, it's not over yet. They're looking really defending this tower. Black holding its ground, will take down the tower. Meanwhile, the Sun and the Lift going on Bristleback. I don't think they can actually go on him. Armel's in there again. Armel pushing himself back with a Pike. Lots of orb damage flying against Bristleback, but he is going to be fine. On the front line, Jabs out of mana and out of escape tool. Blink stun from Boomback. And they're able to pick up one, and I know Boomback is still on the chase. They see Nuts. Nuts is absolutely boned. Wait, just kidding. He just TP's out.
That's his observer word. Yeah. It looks like they're going to go for a very early smoke right after that, so it's a pretty interesting play, keeping up the pressure. And they might be able to get an Ice kill down here. He's not as tanky as he used to be.
He's got the haste rune though, so you need to Astral him or lift him. You got to chain him pretty hard.
Yeah, he's going to book it. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, I think the reason he's going for that BKB is to give a little bit of breathing room for the Weaver and the Abaddon, because without the BKB, I think Abaddon has to allocate a lot of his spell usage for the OD.
True.
But if he's able to go for a BKB, he can put a little bit more on Gabby and give the Weaver some freedom to play around. But yeah, I agree. Shiva's, it's pretty hard.
Well, he's going for the Shivas right now, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's finished up the BKB, so the Shivas is definitely the next choice. It was either one or the other, and then you transition into the other one.
The danger of going for the early BKB is that it makes the charges so precious. As well, hold that thought here, as they're going to go right in. BKB not being used yet on Armel. Armel just holding his ground, right-clicking like a boss. He is taking quite a bit of damage from the tower. And
yeah.
Again, he does not care because he's got himself the Abaddon behind him.
Did you see the mana boot pickup on Ice?
No. Not something you see
he's
too
actually
often.
I think the reason is because he doesn't want to run out of mana, and the other one is you know, very late in the game you can go for something like an Octarine Core potentially.
Sure. Top lane looks like there was a dive attempt here for Black, but Black is holding his ground again, fighting his way out of this one, but unfortunately, no Sunder, so he goes down. Jabs is in the fight, looking for Fly Solo. Fly Solo does not have to lift. Okay, well actually he just misses with that nuke, but he jumps back out.
Yeah, Jabs' timings, you know, I don't mean to harp on him too much, but the timings have been slightly poor. He's always getting there a little bit too late to the fight. There, he was like maybe 2-3 seconds late. Earlier, he didn't have a TP, so he wasn't able to contribute. So hopefully he's a little bit more on his game there. Because Ember Spirit, this is kind of where he's really strong, where he's got that Veil of Discord and he's got the talent with the 10% amplification.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you don't want to be the first one in the fight, but you want to make sure after that first initial stun or lift has been thrown out, you can kind of wreak havoc if you time your spells appropriately.
Well, he's got the BOT now, so it should make joining fight fairly easily.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to mention is that he went for Blade Mill right after Veil. Typically, you'll see the boots of travel so that you can actually join your team. You know, with heroes like Kunkka and Bristleback kind of frontlining, it's very easy for you to join the fray. So pretty surprising that he went for a Blade Mill right after the Veil.
I think a little bit of respect to the OD. Like, OD can, you know, pack a punch, especially when the ult is dropped, so I could see the Blade Mill being a decent choice, but now going right back into Radiance, trying to be the AoE damage machine.
That's a pretty interesting pickup. If there was ever a game to get Lincoln Sphere, I think this is a pretty good game, especially with the fact things like Rubik being able to steal X or just, you know, straight lift into all these other things.
Well, the downside for the Lincolns is I agree with it blocks a lot, but it doesn't block the best initiating spell that Clutch Gamer has, which is the Blink Stun from Slaughter. So I'm not sure if it's the end-all be-all in terms of defensive item. I think he has to rely on a lot of his positioning and his teammates to back him up.
Yeah, that's definitely true. The thing is, I'm wondering if Radiance is the play here, though. It's not particularly great, I don't think. It's like, I don't know. We'll see how it works out.
Well, X-Torrent on Rappy. He does not care. I really like Rappy's item choice here, going for the Aghanim Scepter. Normally, a lot of like Abaddon player kind of defaults into like carry mode, but I think you have the OD, you have the Weaver. They are gonna carry way harder. Well, TP is cancelled. They have vision on him, but nobody's actually making the rotation here. So they're just messing with Ice.
Yeah, and it looks like Ice himself is going for a BKB because, you know, Bristleback does do a pretty fair amount of damage, so if he's able to kind of stay in the fray without getting CC'd up, he should be able to output some damage. But something that we haven't, you know, talked about too much is that, you know, while we've been talking about item builds and things like that, Clutch Gamers have been able to secure 2 tier 2s for themselves, both the top and the mid, and earlier they got the bottom. So they've gotten all the outer towers here, so most of their objectives at this point are done. So they're going to be relying on pickoffs and waiting for the next Roshan for the most part.
I mean, earlier you were pointing out that Faceless was more or less keeping even when it comes to net worth when they had the tower lead, right? Now Clutch Gamer is now evened up on the tower, and they were just farming better. Of course, they had Midas's running the whole time, so they're doing okay. Of course, for both teams, the next objective to look at is going to be Roshan. And something you mentioned during the drafting phase is that, you know, you got the Weaver, you got the Slaughter. So if Clutch Gamer finds a pick, let's say on Ice or on Kunkka or on Terrorblade, that Roche is going to be pretty much guaranteed to them.
Yeah, the other thing is they don't have the greatest catch for Weaver. Typically, heroes like Slaughter or anyone just with the AoE stun is very good against Weaver. You know, if you want to talk about ultimate, something like Magnus or Axe, but they don't have any of those heroes, so it's going to be pretty hard for them to catch the Weaver apart from the Ember Spirit roots. So he's going to be able to kind of do his own thing if it ever does get to kind of a split pushing point.
Sure.
Whereas I don't think Ember Spirit can do the exact same thing because the other team does have tools to kind of catch him out of position.
Okay, looks like we have a little bit of a switching up in terms of builds. Jabs going away from the Radiance because Ice is going to be building Radiance instead. I think that pairing makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And then Ember is going to go, looks like, for a Maelstrom into a Mjolnir for the late game.
And I think this is where the OD pick is kind of really threw a wrench into
Yeah.
what Faceless thought they were going to do, because typically, they had a lot of this minus armor thing going on, where a Crimson Guard would have been really good, but with an OD who's as powerful as he is right now, going for a Crimson Guard, even though he has a Vanguard, it's not going to be doing too much. With OD just dropping the hammer on everybody.
I actually think you save that Vanguard for Abyssal.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this game definitely.
I mean, yeah.
I don't think Crimson
normally
does too much this game.
Yeah, Crimson normally is great. This game, perhaps not so much. I guess you could Crimson your buildings to help them defend, but
Yeah, I don't know. Weaver is that's what I'm saying. Weaver, he's a third on the net worth now. He's one of those heroes that kind of just sneaks his way back into the
Yeah.
farming game.
looks like Diffusal Blade is going to be his choice.
Yep, Diffusal's pretty good. The thing with Bristleback is he doesn't like slows. He doesn't mind stun so much because he can just kind of leave his back there. But when he's slowed and he's getting kind of chased down, it's not the best situation for the hero.
Wait, so I do want to talk about his BKB a bit, as both teams are next to the pit. There is a double damage rune on the ground, and Rappy is seeing the fact that Roche is alive. So the BKB for Bristleback is nice, because he can be controlled, but at the same time, is his team able to lock people down enough so he could just take advantage of the BKB? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think so. Looks like there's going to be a little bit of a skirmish here. But it looks like they're just going to secure the Aegis on the Clutch Gamers here. Odie's going to pick that up.
Yep. We have been committed to, I guess, discourage Clutch Gamer from going to pit, but it seems like there has been absolutely no respect for Weave throughout this whole game, which is a pretty rare sight, if you ask me.
Ice is really close to like two boats in the night. They kind of just go by each other there.
Ice got this award, man. He's got the vision.
Maybe.
He's got the
I think he's
BKB
even spotted
TP.
out.
BKB TP.
He's
Give him the bash!
Oh, the bash!
Oh. Alright.
Oh, man.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Yeah, is that his first BKB usage?
Yep.
That was. So that's pretty big.
I mean, I don't think BKB is an...
But yeah, as you were saying earlier...
It's good, but it's not great here. I don't know.
It's... I think the reason you get the BKB is... Okay, this is going to sound like a horrible reason, but you kind of just pop the BKB and you try to get towers down, because if you're able to use your BKB rather than for team fights, it looks like Kunkka is going to get picked off there in the mid. But if you're able to use the BKB for like objectives, if you're able to even deal like maybe 500 damage or something to like the tier 3s with it, I think it's pretty decent. And just kind of frontline, you just make sure, you just tell Terrorblade hit towers, like.
I think what it really is allowing him to frontline without Armel taking his in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which, I mean, with the Kunkka pick, now they're going to just walk up the high ground. Keep in mind that they have the Aegis on Armel. He's got the Shivas, he's got the BKB, he's got the Pike. He is standing strong in the front. Alright, Ember Spirit applying a little bit of that damage. But Armel is going to be slowly chipping away this tower. Glyph is going to get forced out.
Ice is nowhere near there. I don't know what he's really doing.
Not too sure. I'm not sure how much he adds to this defense, though, because if he comes close... Oh, he's going to come in from behind. Perhaps that is the best way to do so. Torrent's going to fly out here. Defensive Force Staff and a shield. Ice starting to lose a couple of points of in. Jabs moving forward. Oh my god, look at that hit.
That's what I was talking about a little bit earlier, is that Ice is trying to position himself in between the OD and the rest of his team.
Right.
So that he can cause a little bit of a buffer there, but, the Armel just making sure he's using that Hurricane Pike efficiently.
Weave is going to get applied, and now on the backside, Ice getting caught out here. He's going to get chased on as well. They have the Grave too late! Not Grave in time here. The bow does fly out as well, so a lot of these defensive abilities have been already used. X marks the spot on the Terrorblade here. And now Black in a lot of trouble as well. He pops the Manta, dodging a couple of Orb hits. Link Sun again on the backline. They find him, and now it's going to be nuts going down. Triple Remnant in, though! Huge damage output. And there's a buyback on Ice. Gabby activating his BKB. He's getting right-clicked as well. Armel, life-stealing back a little bit. He is going to go down. Keep in mind, he does have the Aegis. Okay, he might look thinking about BKB TP. No, BKB, the TP still on cooldown, so he's got to fight this. Hammer is dropped. Black eliminated. Armel still going to work. Jabs goes down. Ice soon to follow. Where's the Grave? Of course, Dazzle's not alive, so he goes down as well. That's good game, Armel. One hammer of justice sends Faceless packing.
Yeah, that's what we are talking about earlier, is that if he's able to get that BKB and build up those stacks, he's just going to be able to drop the hammer on Terrorblade. And he's not a particularly tanky hero, very susceptible to magic damage, and very well played by Clutch Gamers, coming back from, I think it was like a 2 or 3 tower deficit, using their heroes very well.
I think I don't want to say draft victory, but Clutch Gamer, with that last pick, OD has really shown what a single hero can do to turn the outcome of the game. Like, OD just countered pretty much everything, right? Had the orb for black, the lane was good against jabs, and we saw Bristleback was the mean machine early on, but in the mid and late game just couldn't take the orbs. And I don't know if Nuts was lagging, or I didn't really see him get off a lot of key clutch graves, which I think this was a centerpiece of the draft, right? Graving either black